that point, the Child Support Enforcement Agency has a whole bunch of administrative tools. And what I want to make sure people realize is I don't control the Child Support Agency.
Sure.
It's separate, completely separate from the court. But they can do things like they can seize a professional license. So if you're a lawyer not paying support, you lose your ticket. They can put automatic withholdings to collect more money on the arrearages. They can seize bank accounts.
Oh.
They can do all kinds of things.
Well.
And the worst one, and the one actually in a lot of ways I struggle with, because it's very aggressively used in Medina County, is they will suspend driver's licenses.
Really?
Yeah, including commercial driver's licenses.
So if you're a truck driver, you're out of luck.
Yeah, and they send notices to the people, but they're sent by regular mail. So, you know, lots of people are somewhat transient.
Oh, sure.
So you don't know if they get the notice. And many folks don't find out their license was suspended until they're picked up on a driving under suspension.
Wow.
And then the agency requires them to pay X number of dollars in order to get it back. So I know I'm actually personally struggling in court when we have individuals that are, you know, brought before the court for contempt, and then you learn they don't have a driver's license.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you live in
go to
Litchfield,
work, right.
Right. Or I had a gentleman who was in contempt who lived in Lodi. His driver's license was under suspension by the agency, and he was on a seek work. You know, 10 employers per week. Well, I don't know that there are 10 employers in
walking distance. That's for sure. No, that's really, and again, you say that is a sanction, if you will, or a power that the Child Support Agency itself has. That really has nothing to do with you.
No, and I've actually tried in cases like the gentleman in Lodi to, you know, get the suspension lifted or give them work-related driving privileges. And the position of the Bureau of Motor Vehicles is that they won't accept a court order. It has to come from the agency. So, I mean, we've had quite an interesting...
Yeah, it sounds like it really has. I mean, I guess we have to, you know, I mean, I'm sure obviously we'll all concur. I mean, people have to be responsible. You've ordered them to pay, you know, but things could happen. Probably what we hope our viewers take away from this, though, and I mean, this affects your court, and what you do there affects a lot of people in our county and within our viewing range, is that probably better keep the lines of communication open on this, because you may not have a driver's license. You won't even know about it.
That's right.
But when that patrolman pulls you over, you can talk to him as much as you want, but I got a feeling you're coming out of that car and, you know, there's going to be a real situation.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing that people should really think about, you know, if they lose their job through no fault of their own, they're struggling to pay the child support. Number one, always communicate with the Child Support Agency. You know, do your best, get something coming in, even if it's not the full amount. And by all means, file a motion to modify the support. We even have a program now at the court, our informal mediation program, where we're encouraging people who've lost a job or they've had, you know, a big economic downturn. If the other party is willing to meet with our mediation magistrate. It's free to anyone who resides in Medina County.
That's good information to know, because this is very serious business, obviously, and you're trying to meet people halfway here. The same message comes up, and I guess, you know, it's just beware, but when we've had the shows on foreclosures, both Judge Kimbler and we had a local attorney on, said the same thing. You know, do what you need to do to communicate this. Don't ignore it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, for our person who's not paying his support for probably good reason, he lost his job, things are going to go from bad to worse if he doesn't let you know. So that's good to know. Okay. What happens, I got this one down here, Judge, what happens when an ex-spouse cannot pay spousal support? Okay, I think we covered that pretty well. Yeah, ex or not ex, you know, whatever.
Yeah. But to add, we didn't talk, I want to mention a little thing about spousal support, because spousal support is a different calculation. The court has more flexibility than it does in child support.
So when we talk about spousal support, I think the the term that maybe our viewers would remember is alimony.
Alimony,
right?
correct.
Okay, we don't use it too much in the legal profession now, but that's what it is. It's alimony.
Right.
You know, you're paying your okay.
Right.
All right. So you say, does the agency involve themselves in this?
Yeah, actually, the agency is involved in many cases in collecting it.
Okay.
They don't typically enforce it. That's usually a court issue.
So it's back on you to enforce.
Right, and they don't modify it. And I think it's important for people to know in this economic climate, if something happens to their employment or there's a big change, if they're able to show a substantial change in circumstances that they didn't contemplate at the time of the divorce, and if they reserved the jurisdiction of the court, they can come back and perhaps modify the spousal support.
So when you say reserve the jurisdiction, when it was over, you are still, assuming you have, they have, or that the decree has, you're the court they come back to with change of circumstances.
Correct.
And, okay, that's considerably different than child support, because you have more leeway there? Or?
Right, because there's no formula in the state of Ohio for spousal support.
I see.
So, either parties are agreeing to a number, the court's putting one on after considering factors that the state legislature has put forth.
Sure.
But there's more latitude in looking at whether or not there's a change in circumstances. In the child support world, there has to be a difference of 10% in the calculation of the old child support amount and what the new amount would be based on the current numbers.
10%?
And if you don't get to the 10%,
you don't have a change.
You don't have it.
I see.
Whereas in spousal support, you're looking more at circumstances. You lost a job, retired.
And you have the opportunity to hear those. However, I guess I'd have to assume, though, if you don't hear about it and you hear only the negative, you're going to have to do what you have to do.
Right.
What would be a sanction or a penalty that might happen for a person who just flat out isn't paying it?
Well, that again would go back to the court's contempt powers.
Yeah, there we go.
If you don't pay, the court can certainly order. The court can order you to deliver a lump sum, can do all kinds of things, and ultimately, if you don't do it during that purge period, then the court can sentence you to jail.
Go to jail. So, once again, serious business here. Okay, Judge, well, we're coming to the end of our time here, even though I think I could probably sit here all day and ask you questions about this. I really can. But I'd certainly like to thank you for being our guest on Law Talk today and give you the open invitation to come back, because it sounds to me like there'd be plenty more for us to talk about. One of the questions I really wanted to get to, but we're just not going to get time today, I want you to talk about pensions, and which I'm sure are a real big factor that is going on now.
Oh, yes.
And as people are being laid off, losing their jobs and whatnot, and reaching that point of their life where they're about ready to draw their pensions, if they were in a divorce, there's going to be some questions about that. So that on itself might be a show right there. And,
absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you, Judge. I'd like to thank you, of course, for being our guest. And as far as our viewers go, if you'd like to see this episode again, or any of our episodes, go to www.CZ-CLEP.org. I am John Celebrezze, and I thank you for tuning in.
To keep up on Medina County and other legal issues, go to www.CZ-CourtReporter.com, a function of the Celebrezze Zanghi Community Legal Education Project. At CZ-CLEP, we're devoted to the education of today's legal issues. Fueled by the public's keen interest in our legal system and current events, CZ-CLEP is dedicated to the educational venues aimed at enhancing the understanding by all citizens. For a complete listing of dates and times for this telecast, tune in to WCTV Channel 15 or log on to WadsworthCity.com and follow the links to WCTV.
I'm John Celebrezze. Please join me in getting a better understanding of the law.